Hi folks, you've visited us today at your Pushback channel and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the methods that the globalist cabal use to control all the governments all across the Western world, because they've got effectively total control. You know, whatever the globalists want, they seem to get. And pronouncements that are made in the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab and the think tanks that are sort of globalist mouthpieces. No sooner do they talk about it or release a white paper than the Western governments are all scrambling in unison, acting as one body across multiple countries, are all implementing these globalist policies down to fairly sort of detailed micro levels, such as what teachers teach in classrooms and in primary schools and things like that. The globalists supporting the drag queen story hours in libraries and in children's school, encouraging children to go and watch overtly sexual drag queen acts and so on. This is all very much sanctioned and approved of by the globalist cabal as part of the undermining of the Western will to resist the globalist impositions. So, and of course, our own Western politicians are going along with it, but we have to remember our own Western politicians are no longer representing us or part of our society or part of our, they're not fellow citizens anymore. They're globalist flunkies and stooges. They are effectively appointed. I mean, look at Rishi Sunak in the United Kingdom. He's no one's voted for him. He's just been appointed by the globalists to be Prime Minister of the British government. I mean, just contemplate that for a moment. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has not been elected by anybody. He's been appointed he's the globalist choice, and the globalists have just appointed him into that role. I mean, that's a stunning situation, but we effectively see that whether an election was imaginatively controlled or the votes were creatively counted, it doesn't matter. There's pretty much a pro-globalist or globalist-controlled politician, the president, prime ministers, whatever, across the entire Western world, along with certainly the senior political class. And if we pull the curtain back, we find that all the advisors, the shadowy advisors in the background, are all globalist ghouls and goons. But still, you've got over 600 politicians in the United Kingdom in the House of Commons, and even though that they most, if not all, have been sanctioned by the party machine, which is where the globalists first established control, because the party machine decides which politicians will be permitted to stand for election in what districts and precincts and so on. So they select candidates on the basis of they're either pro-globalist or they're controllable, completely controllable, or they're effectively irrelevant in the overall scheme of things. Now, the size of the Conservative Party majority at the last election meant that some politicians who weren't expected to win ended up getting a place in Parliament, and they weren't necessarily globalist stooges. They were just part of this irrelevant class. So you've got the pro-globalist, you've got the politicians they can control, then the irrelevant ones, and a certain number of irrelevant ones managed to get in. So these are people where there's no control over them, or no selection process that's really been applied. So what if these people aren't going to vote the way you want them to? Now, you can reason with them and say, look, this is why we're going to do, COVID, or it could be anything, it doesn't matter, but this is why we're going to do, this is why it's good policy. Here's the science, or here's the justification, here's the working papers. We've had people doing the heavy lifting on the policies for a while here. Can we sit down and talk about this? No, these people are irrelevant. And by the way, we're following globalist instructions and we've got no basis for it. There is no reason for doing what we're doing other than the globalists have told us to do it. And we report to them. They are our bosses. Do you think I can live in a waterfront mansion with a yacht out the front if I don't do what the globalists fucking tell me? And that waterfront mansion and those Ivy League schools for my kids, and you know, my daughter's going on a round the world 6-star trip as a consultant for one of the big banks. Do you think they're going to they're going to let her do that, or they're going to keep on paying for it if I don't do what they want? Of course they're not. So you damn well little fucking Nazi on the back bench there, you little irrelevant little fuck. You're going to do what you're told. And I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to debate it with you. Just do what the fuck you told, you little shit. So that's really the approximate situation. And the WhatsApp messaging from the Daily Telegraph. So that's really the approximate situation. And the WhatsApp messaging from the Daily Telegraph is putting into the public domain in Britain mentions quite clearly that the globalist goons like Hancock and others, they saying, well, how can we control these backbencher politicians, junior politicians who are arguing that the COVID measures A, aren't working, and B, they're way over the top, far too high-handed, and that they're not really underwritten by the science. So what do we do about these people? We can control the narrative, but we have to make it look like that everyone's on the same page. I mean, clearly there are 50, 60 odd politicians, however many there was, that aren't happy with this and they're not going along with it. And they're asking questions that we can't answer. Because again, all we're doing is we're doing what the globalists are telling us. We're making up a whole bunch of lies to look like it's all legit, but that's all it is. We're doing what the globalists are telling us to do. Now, so what the methods they used, and I'll come back to some videos I've done in the past about other methodologies used to control junior politicians or any politician that steps out of line. Is in this case, they were talking about if there's any infrastructure projects or other pet projects that might go on and will be popular in the electoral districts that these politicians are in. They'll say, okay, we're not going to go ahead with that project. You've already announced it publicly that new project, a construction project or public works project, it's all going to go ahead. It's going to create lots of local jobs and, be good for the community, all that sort of thing. We're going to pull that project, even though you've gone out there and publicly said it's going to go ahead. We're going to pull that project and make you look like an idiot. You'll have no chance of re-election, and you'll be spending months begging forgiveness from the locals that you've promised this to. So there you go, suck on that. So that's a pretty powerful incentive to get the politician to go along, or at least to not oppose. Now, there's a series of things that the party machine and those at the apex, the Prime Minister's office, or in the case of the United States, the White House and the Speaker's office, that sort of thing, is where they can withdraw all sorts of benefits. Now, in most countries, the parliamentary recesses, like there's 4 or 5 parliamentary recesses, which is supposedly time that the politician can then spend with their local constituents, the people actually vote for them in the districts, hearing their problems, solving their problems, or that's the way it's supposedly going to work, or supposedly works. But in reality, those times are used for luxurious international travel under the guise of a study tour. Now, say in a case of Australia, it's just a regional politician I'm looking at here. Now, she's an affirmative action hire, but she gets a 5-star trip with her family, and is able to go anywhere in the world, stay in 5-star hotels. Again, ostensibly a study tour. Go anywhere she wants in the world, and she gets 5 luxurious trips every year, international trips to whatever location based on any bullshit reason. And this is all signed off on. It's all taxpayer money, of course, being spent. Now, when you look at the price of these things, and all these politicians are doing it. She's got some junior administrative role, like she's chairman of some committee or some shit like that. So she gets a few extra perks on this. So she's got three family members go with her, and this is $35,000 in plane fares, little over half that amount in food and accommodation, and other transport. So just little shy of $60,000 for the trip. Now remember, there are 5 of those a year, so she's spending between $250,000 and $300,000 of taxpayer money, which is effectively a gift. It's not for any purpose. It's just a gift that's given to her on top of her salary. In fact, the total amount of travel that she spent was about equivalent to her salary. So now this jumps her up to about 10 times the average wage per annum. Now, a lot of that's in travel and benefits. It's not cash in the hand or anything like that. But now let's look at this policy, who again, affirmative action. I mean, at best, she's going to be a flossing, be a checkout girl in some retail shop. That's the height of her abilities. But instead, she's getting paid. In terms of that wage, she's probably getting paid close to 20 times what she would make in that sort of scenario. So now she's some of her constituents have complained, I'm not happy about policy X, and then she gets quite a few of those. So she voices a concern to some of the party heavy, saying, look, a lot of my constituents are complaining about such and such. I'm really sort of thinking twice about voting for it now. So a goon is sent round from the party secretariat, if you will, and a goon comes round saying, "Hey, Billie Jean, look, you're of course at liberty to vote the way you think. I mean, this is a democracy. You do what you think's right for your constituents. Now we've got a bit of a budget crisis coming up with overseas travel, Billie Jean, and we're just reviewing that now, and we're not sure we can really manage as much travel as we did the previous year. So what we're thinking, given you had such a big year last year, what we're thinking the moment is that we're going to just put you on the no travel list. It doesn't have to be like this, but we are reviewing it currently, and we'll be having a look at it, and we'll let you know in due course what when the Office for Budget Management has reviewed it, and we'll come back to you. But at this stage, it looks like next year there won't be any travel. Oh, you've promised your daughter that you'll go to Tahiti or Disneyland or something. Oh, okay. Well, that's no good. Yeah, that's too bad. Well, anyway, maybe in future years we can fit you in somehow. So straight away, her income, if you like, or the lifestyle she has in terms of this travel has been cut in half just by that. So she's sitting there thinking, well, why would I give a fuck what a few of my constituents think when my lifestyle is going to be cut in half, and I won't be able to do any international travel next year because my own salary is kind of, maybe I can do a couple of trips, but it's going to be cattle class. I'm going to be traveling coach. There won't be any 5-star luxuries here. My daughter's going to be so upset, and so on. So that's one thing. Another thing they can do is say she's been given and good little children who do as they're told get appointed to committees, and these committees pay an extra $20,000-$30,000 a year. You've only got to turn up for 2 hours a month. It's hardly onerous, but you're supposed to do a lot of reading, but you delegate that to some intern or some 2-bit flunky in your office. So you really nothing to do, and if you're a member of a few of these committees, you can pick up another $150,000 a year in salary. So that's a pretty decent amount. Now, so the goon from the secretariat comes around and says, "Hey, Billie Jean, look, we're reviewing the list of people on the committees. We're going to cut back on a few committees, and we just want to be fairer, more fair in our distribution of who gets what what committees ship. So we're reviewing your position on those 4 committees, and we'll come back to you on what we're doing. Now, what was that you said about the vote? You were concerned about which way you might vote on the policy we're putting up about COVID or something like that. Well, we can talk about that later anyway. But we just want to let you know we're reviewing those committeeships and those committee positions, and it may be that you might lose a few of those, but it's only in the interest of fairness, of course, that we're doing it, so that your colleagues have equal access. We're about equality here. Democracy and equality is what we're about here. I hope you understand that, Billie Jean. We're not singling you out, and so on. So that's done. Now, the third level they can do, which we saw behaviour like this from the various political heavies in the United States, Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and those sort of people, is that if there's a politician that isn't quite voting the way the globalists want, and the globalists would have a list of these people, that say, hey, this politician isn't isn't voting the way we want them to, or they've been making noises, and they'll probably even have an informant in that politician's office, a globalist informant. So that's how much control the globalists would have. And like there's FBI informants everywhere in every organization in the US, again, reporting back and making sure that no anti-globalist activities are going on. So they come to a politician and say, look, we don't mind if you get re-elected, but in your constituency, but we've got another contender there that wants to stand for election in your area, and they've got some pretty popular backing. Now we can stop that, but we need you to just reconsider your attitude towards the following things. So, or instead of, say, putting up someone against them to compete against them in say the primaries or something like that, instead they'll say, well, look, you've got a pretty tough fight there in the local area against the opposition party candidate, and we're really looking at a budget for your political, all your advertising and all that sort of stuff. We're going to give you a few $1 million, but we've been looking at that, and we just don't really think we can afford that at this stage. We're just not sure that you're fully committed to our program and that sort of thing. But if you change your mind, you want to become more committed, we can revisit this budget. But we think you need $2 million, but we can only afford $50,000 given the current the current fundraising status. So, Billy Bob, if you want to do that, but we can't really support you and help you. There just isn't enough money in the budget to do it, and well, you're probably going to lose. But hey, who cares? These things happen. There's politics, Billy Bob. Politics. We're not singling you out, Billy Bob. You understand that? We're just giving you the situation as it is. So Billy Bob said, "No, I'll vote for COVID." So okay, I'll vote for COVID. All right. Hey, look, we just did a review of the budget again, and wouldn't you know it? Holy fuck, we found $2 million for your re-election. Well, there you go. All's good, Billy Bob. Now, how about that? So these are the various methodologies that are used to control politicians. Now, if you're a real patriot and you're somebody of higher capacity and capability who can do fairly well on your own without a machine to carry you along, then maybe you'd still push back against that. But those aren't the people they're selecting to sit in Parliament. They're selecting people who are controllable, bribable, corruptible, and all that sort of thing. So in the end, they all report and do what the globalists want. And these are the devices and methodologies and tactics that are used. You've been a Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.